Pink Phony Club. I'll just keep on dancing at the pink.
Jeez.
Come on, Julian, sing it with me now.
No, I am not.
Welcome to the Player Manager Podcast. I'm Zealand, world-renowned manager of virtual nature, and that's Julian, a real player who now plays for Minnesota United. So welcome all the Loons fans that might be tuning in, and we are here to provide our unique perspectives on not only MLS, but also football all around the world. So naturally, we're starting with, how was your week? It's good, you know?
Good, stressful, moving, chill, successful, very positive, I'd say. How was yours?
Successful. Or you're in house now. I mean, you're in the hotel because internet, but you have a house now.
I have a house. I got the keys today. Yes, got the keys today. Moving in. Stuff was already delivered. There's a bunch of just boxes everywhere now. So hopefully we get to put those things together soon and then start living in it.
Oh, well, you know, you could just live in the boxes. I feel like that would be a solid.
My daughters would probably love that. Yeah.
To keep Julian from having to live in the boxes, be sure to subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're not listening on YouTube, you can subscribe anyways, just to help us out and support my endeavor to try and grow out this mustache. Now, very important stuff talking about on this show today, because we have a very big giveaway that we are going to talk about at the end of this show. Julian knows a little something about that. Yeah, very exciting giveaway. And we're the details again at the end of the show for how you might be able to win a certain jersey. It is a jersey. And I'll give you a hint, it's not mine. So
there we go. So stay tuned.
Yeah, you're gonna have to wait for a later. You're gonna wait for a later giveaway for that one. That'll be nice. One fun fact to get us started as we dive into some MLS stuff and how Julian's week's gone so far. We have a highly likely piece of information, right? We suspect with about 98% accuracy now that Julian is in fact the only player in MLS history, or shall I say the first, who has played for all of the Uniteds in MLS. That would be Atlanta United, DC United, and now Minnesota United. Yeah, and I hear there's a trophy for that, so we're going to get to add to your collection. How does that
feel? I love it. Yeah, sounds good. The Gressel United trophy, I guess. Is that what it's called?
the Gressel United trophy. Perfect. And that's actually what the giveaway is for. You get the Gressel United trophy signed, sealed, delivered. No more dancing at the Pink Pony Club around what happened this week, because we'll start it with a 4-1 drubbing, as it were. Very surprising scoreline, kind of jumps off the page because Inter Miami, even though they don't have Julian Gressel anymore, still a pretty good team. But Julian Gressel's new team, Minnesota United, kind of swung the big hammer. So how did that game go for you? Because obviously it's just a weird experience to play a team you just left so recently in the first place and then to win so dominantly.
Yeah, I mean, we won 4-1. How do you think it went?
Okay, fair. Was it uncomfortable? Did you celebrate? Did you think about, like, you know, what was going on? What interactions happened?
Yeah, it was a lot of different emotions. I think a lot of different emotions in a way where I think we talked about it last week about the anticipation of it, kind of it being so soon after I leave, I play against them, and my first home game as a Minnesota United player, first time in front of the home fans, in front of the Wonder Wall, and yeah, it was so special in that sense, and also, kind of strange to play all of a sudden against teammates that, or former teammates that I was literally, in the same locker room with a couple of weeks ago, and here you are, kind of on the other side, trying to do everything to beat them in a sense, and yeah, I wish I obviously started the game. I wish I played a little bit more that way, but ultimately I had good conversations throughout the week with the coach, and it made a lot of sense that I didn't start. So that part of it was okay, and then getting to the stadium and kind of seeing the pink and seeing the blue, mostly blue. It was cool to get to experience it from the other side, and ultimately, 4-1. What a great night for Minnesota United and for us, and what a great feeling for me, to beat my former team, but also to have a really good start at home with the club that I'm at now, and it wasn't just about beating Miami. Um, I think it was also about, just winning against a good team and kind of getting off to a good start at home for me too.
You brought up something I didn't really think about until you mentioned it, which I think means we're becoming a proper podcast at this point. But you were part of the Beatles in many ways, right? You were part of the traveling circus. You
Yeah,
were part of this kind of headline act, right? And
yeah.
now you got to basically go to a Beatles concert. Like, what was different about being on the other side of it?
Well, this one didn't feel as much as, it was just for Messi and for Inter Miami. This one definitely felt more like, all right, there's a lot of supporters here that were supporting Minnesota United, more so than the other way. Yes, there were pink jerseys and Miami jerseys and Messi fans and all of that, but at the same time, there were a lot of supporters that wanted us to win, and that I think I want to say like 85%. So in that sense, it wasn't necessarily a Beatles concert like I've experienced while I was at Miami somewhere else on some other road trips. So that was nice to see what Minnesota United fans are all about. So thank you for kind of making that great impression on me, and kind of starting out on the right foot. And it shows that these fans are for real. They're for real. Minnesota United through and through, and they're not here to just come and watch the superstars play. They're here to really support us and support this club, and it shows how much this club means to the community, and that's something I absolutely love to see. And I think I even signed that poster in the beginning that real Minnesota United fans wear blue and black and not pink, which is true, and that's really was the case. So it was cool to see that that was, yeah, kind of how it shaped out to be.
So we've got spies everywhere. And not only did you sign the poster, but we have identified people discussing you kind of after the game and signing the poster and so on r/, Minnesota United. I had to make sure I got that right. So the Reddit for talking about Minnesota United. And somebody named Monarch Butterfly said about you around the poster. He stayed to watch the kids scoring goals after the game. I'm sure he was wishing his kids were there too. No doubt he's really looking forward to having his family moving to the city next month. Is that what was going on? You were sitting around after the game like, oh, this is going to be a nice place.
Well, yes and no. I mean, obviously, as I saw all the guys go over to the family section and grab their kids, I was like, oh man, this would be great. A day game and celebrating that would have been amazing. Yes, but unfortunately, it didn't work out. But part of it, as I was kind of standing there, was also like, what are we kind of doing here? Like I was like, I'm so new, and I'm so like still in the like trying to figure out what's happening after the games, what's happening before the game, how you sing Wonderwall, like how all that stuff kind of unfolded. Like I was so new to all of it that I was like, wait a second, like, oh, the kids are on the field already. All right, I like this. So I was just kind of watching, and yeah, then I just decided to just do a lap around the stadium and applaud all the fans who came out, and that was special as well. And yeah, and then it was cool to have the kids there and see kind of the kids run onto the field right away, and I'm sure I'll get to experience that very soon. Yeah, it'll be great when they come out. One of them is already here. He's laying right down over here.
Oh, yes.
The
The fur
doggo.
child. Yeah.
Yeah, Freddy's right here. So, but the rest, yeah, they'll come out in June. And as we talked about, the house, still has we need some time to set it up still.
Yeah. You gotta hire that company or whatever that app is to come in and turn those boxes into
Yep,
desks and couches and
that's
stuff.
right.
Well, we made it. Let me check I think we're 10 minutes into the show.
Yeah.
That's as far as I'm going to go without bringing up the Instagram caption. Okay. I alluded to it, and I'm going to ask you, but I've known you for long enough that I know exactly what your answer is going to be, but I'm just going to talk about it anyways.
I know
Minnesota
it's coming.
United's
Yeah.
Instagram. I do. So I'll go a different way with this, right? Because you are now all of a sudden accidentally, as arguably the nicest person in professional soccer, in the middle of this kind of little public spat between your old club that you were at for a year and a half and you won a trophy with, and your new club that you were obviously kind of loving being there. because Minnesota United posts, for those that didn't know, on their caption, instead of Pink Pony Club, they put Pink Phony Club as like their celebratory caption on the Instagram post. At which
Yeah.
point, David Beckham responds and says, show a little respect, tags them, at Minnesota United, be elegant in triumph. Right. And so as all of this is going down, I'm not going to ask you your thoughts on it. I'm going to ask you your thoughts on the idea of social media admins stirring stuff up. Or
I
like
mean,
as a player, you're sitting there and the social media admins, they have their job, right? And they do something like this. You kind of, if I were you, I'd look at it and roll your eyes and be like, oh, we didn't need to piss them off. Like we don't need them to be angry.
I
Like,
mean,
why are you starting this?
yeah, I mean, it's I think that's just social media in a nutshell, right? In a sense, if someone pissing somebody else off and kind of just like making somebody else feel a certain way that maybe it wasn't intended that way, maybe it was, I don't know, but um yeah, I'm trying to stay out of this. I mean, this is I obviously didn't post this.
Yeah.
This is all the
Julian had nothing to do with this.
yes,
He doesn't even
exactly.
know the social media admin guy.
No, it was, yeah, I don't know. I saw it and I saw David Beckham's response, and I think beforehand, or they also posted something about the banner that was raised by the fans that also had something like a slight dig at Inter Miami. So I get his response, David Beckham's response, a little bit. I think you know there's a certain way you can act when you win, but at the same time, it's like they're that's how they are in Miami as well. So it's not like they're hiding it or they're shying away from those things. They are out there and they are one of the the face of the league in a sense, right? So you also got to kind of take it at sometimes. But if it would ever now turn around, so do we have to take it now? So it's just social media, like I said, and it's something that um yeah, like I said, I don't need to really get involved in. I get it a little bit for both sides, but it is what it is. How do you feel about it, though?
I think, yeah, no,
What is?
I was going to go on this for a second
Yeah.
because I think that there are two things at play here. One is you always have this when David Beckham played at LA Galaxy, and let's say they'd play at Columbus Crew, like a place that has a really good kind of ground up fan base, grassroots sort of club in the way that doesn't always exist in the United States, right? So, some MLS clubs are really top down, and then the fandom grows up over time, but it didn't necessarily go bottom up. You would
Yeah.
have those fan bases, oh, plastic club, this and that, you bought these superstars and you're trying to do that. And so when you are the face of the league in that way, I would say it's the same way as, we'll take like Manchester City, I think is a good example, where it
Mm.
feels like that success, even if this is the incorrect opinion, it feels like that success wasn't earned. Because, oh, you became a club and then you went and bought Messi, you went and bought Julian Gressel, you went and bought Luis Suarez, right? You did all this, you added all this star power to the team, and then you started winning instantly because, of course, that's what a kid would do if he was playing
Yeah.
EAFC, right? And so you're going to have other fan bases just naturally want to try and take a team like that down a peg. But I think that the difference culturally, and this is for people maybe not from the United States that watch this podcast, of which there are almost a majority, right? The difference culturally between Minnesota and Miami is the difference between Pluto and Mars, right? Like you probably can't get further away from a culture in the United States than going from Minnesota to Miami. So I think people from Minnesota are always going to look at, a team from Miami that's wearing pink and it's like a flamingo, they're coming in. And then people from Miami are going to look at Minnesota like, oh, this backwater, this freezing cold outpost of like, what are they? There's always going to be a tension there. And then Minnesota is always going to feel like Miami's looking down on them. They are, just because Miami's this big glamour glitz city. And I've been to Minneapolis. It's actually a wonderful city. They have a bigger mall than Miami does. No, I went there for the Final
Yeah.
Four and my team won, so maybe I have like rose-colored glasses in some sense. But they whatever it is, the Mall of America there. It's not like this is some outpost of civilization. There's a ton of people, and it was great. But I think that both of those things were at play to create. Minnesota was ready. And once Minnesota goes and blows out a team from Miami that has all this star power that feels like it just appeared out of nowhere to be the best team in the league, they were going to let them hear about it. And I think that all of that got directed through the social media guy who then just let it rip. And I'm not surprised by David Beckham's response. I mean, he wasn't even the only owner that got involved in a dust up this weekend, because this happened in the Premier League too. This is apparently something that that's going to happen more and more. I don't know if you saw this, but
I
the
did, but
Nottingham, yeah, the Nottingham Forest owner came down on the field and yelled at the coach. I mean, it wasn't as okay. It wasn't as bad as it looked. Well, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm sure you'll be able to see the video clip. But he did go on the
what a
field and
clip.
kind of chastise the manager, a manager that has taken them from the cusp of relegation to like European qualification for the first time in 30 years. So what do you think of the whole manager, not manager, but owners kind of getting involved in this way, from David Beckham to Marinakis? That's his name.
Yeah, I mean, you're the manager in this podcast, so this is your expertise. This is not me. I'm the player.
Oh,
No,
true.
but
Okay, if you how about this? If you're a player and you see, we'll take Marinakis, right? We got to lean into our expertise. You're right. Okay, so you're a player and Marinakis, you see your owner come on the field and yell at your coach. What are you thinking?
I mean, I look at it again through both sides, right? I get it. I get it, like how people are upset that he did it. That he kind of comes so publicly onto the field and you know tells the coach whatever. I guess I'm not sure what he even said, but or David Beckham is defending his club, like you know, no problem, like do it. I think I like that. I'm sure the owner had good intentions or good thoughts behind it. Maybe the way he went about it was maybe not the perfect one, but hey, he is the one putting up the millions and billions of dollars, just like David Beckham is, or just like the Moss brothers are in Miami. And you're certainly entitled to have an opinion, and when you do that, right, and more so than that. So I totally understand that they're feeling certain ways about things. I don't know how they or if that Nottingham owner should go about it in that way, but hey, he's entitled to have his opinion. He's entitled to do that because it's literally his club. Like he's paying for all this stuff. So that's why if he wants to do it, he gets to do it. Not necessarily saying I agree with that, but at the same time, they're coming to defend their club, or they're coming to have good intentions or get an answer that they wanted from a coach or whatever. Like um, but it's certainly, yeah, I don't know. I don't necessarily hate it just because it also shows that they care.
Yeah, I was my number one feeling about this, whether it be David Beckham or Evangelos Marinakis at Nottingham Forest, is I would much rather have somebody that cares,
Yeah.
particularly in Marinakis's case, too much, than have those types of owners that don't really care. I mean, you've got
Yeah.
guys like I think his name's Peter Lim, but at Valencia, I think it is in Spain, where it's like that guy hasn't been to a game in 6 years,
Yeah.
right? Like they don't send the money, and they don't pay, and they don't care, and they don't know the names of the players on the team or what. I would rather have somebody that I think in Beckham's case is willing, like emotionally invested and wanting to come out and defend
Yeah.
his club and wanting to be like, hey, watch yourself. Because honestly, when David Beckham speaks, people listen, right? Like when David Beckham has a gravitas.
I can speak to that, right, to the Miami owners. Like I've gotten to know them over the year that I was there. Like David obviously cares a lot, as you can see. Um, as you can see every time he's on the sideline or watching the games. I think how involved he is in referees and how emotional he is in that sort of thing. um, I think you can tell how much he wants Inter Miami to do well, and he wants the best for the club. And the same goes for Jose Mas and Jorge Mas. Like they're both emotionally involved, invested in the club on a daily basis. And again, I much rather have it that way than, like you said, somebody that is like, yeah, whatever, I don't care. do whatever you want. Just, don't kind of, I don't know, have bad reputation or whatever about it, and just like doesn't really care in any sort of way. So to the Miami owners, I can firsthand can say that they have their intentions are really, really good, and they want the best for the club, for the league, and everything else. So I certainly like that, obviously, behind everything.
And I think particularly with the Nottingham Forest one, because David Beckham's obviously didn't have to do with remonstrating anybody in his own team. It was just he's decided to dig his heels in and say, "No, we're going to start. We're going to start a mess over this. You're not going to get away with Pink Phony Club," like an Instagram
Yeah.
post. I think even in the Marinakis case, I know it was Gary Neville came out and said that the manager, who's Nuno Espirito Santo, is a guy that used to manage Wolves, great Portuguese manager.
Yep.
He managed Tottenham as well. And Gary Neville came out and was like, he should resign. This is an unacceptable way to be treated, and he should go out and resign and all this. But apparently after the game, Nuno said that it wasn't as much an argument as Marinakis came onto the field to ask him why he made a sub, because they ended up messing up the substitutions so that they had to play the final couple minutes with 10 men because they didn't know a guy was hurt, basically.
Mm.
Awoniyi, the striker. Well, the striker himself said he could continue, but then after they made their final sub, they found out that he could not continue. And so he had to like leave the field. They played with 10. It was a draw. So apparently he just came onto the field and was like, what the hell happened? Why do we
Yeah.
have to play with 10 men? And then Nuno told him and he just ran away muttering. So I don't think it was nearly as bad. And I think that sort of thing is an overreaction. But I would imagine if you're a manager and your owner is doing that sort of thing, it could get annoying. But I think let's also not pretend that at least half of the owners in the Premier League, half of the owners in MLS don't have that exact conversation just right after the manager gets into the tunnel.
Yeah.
Not before. Like they come storming into the office and go, "What the hell just happened?" And this and that. Have you
Exactly.
ever seen
It's
any of
just
that sort of thing in your experience? Like, now, obviously not just with Miami, but you've been on a couple of clubs in your time.
a couple times, yeah, a couple different clubs. Yeah. Some guys are or some owners are more so in the locker rooms, some owners aren't. Mine have mostly been positive. So whenever there was a positive thing that happened, then the owners would obviously be in and would congratulate people. And if they're not, or if it wasn't so positive, then it would kind of just be, they just wouldn't really be there, like kind of like demanding answers or anything like that. No, I think that had never really happened, I think, before for me. But certainly positive ones where they come and congratulate you, celebrate with you, or um, yeah, talk to you about the game or whatever. So yeah, that happened before, but nothing too negative. No.
Well, I mean, you could always go play for Nottingham Forest or Olympiacos, where Evangelo Marinakis is
Hey,
more than happy to.
yeah, who knows?
might be a little harder to get a house in
Yeah.
that move. That would be a little harder. But I think our producer just sent us something that I kind of agree with, because I brought it up earlier, and it would be remiss of me to not bring it up in this case as well. There is also probably a cultural difference at play here,
Yeah. Oh
because
yeah.
Mediterranean football is just a little more lax with that sort of thing. If you ever watch it in Italy or in Turkey, obviously they turn it up to 25 out of 10. And he owns Olympiacos in Greece. He's owned Olympiacos for a lot longer than he's owned Nottingham Forest. He is Greek, lives in Greece, or at least spends a lot of his time there. And so I think that he might have not thought that was nearly as big of a deal as these kind of white handkerchief English pundits that are a little more appalled at this sort of.
Yeah.
But I think I
That
can't
makes
even
sense.
imagine, if you own the club, I can't even imagine people spending hours talking about the fact that you went onto the field to talk to your manager. It's not like he shoved him. He didn't get in his face and yell at him. He didn't embarrass him or dress him down. He was just clearly, I would say, huffing and puffing. He was a little perturbed that they drew the match and was not happy, and he was wearing it on his sleeve. But it's got to be wild to have your actions be scrutinized to that extent, to the point that we are talking about it on this podcast.
I guess. Yeah. I mean, does he care that we talk about it, or that other?
No, that
No,
man does not.
exactly.
Yeah,
So
I've done 2 or 3 little videos on Marinakis, and that man does not care.
Yeah. So
He's got bigger problems like potential charges for drug trafficking that he's had to navigate over the
oh,
past 10 years. And so
jeez.
I
All
think
right.
I think a little media, yeah, I think a little
Let's
media
drop him here.
pressure.
This
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah. Well,
no more.
he is not a boring person to research. Let me put it that way. But he was never charged. So I want to be, I'm not trying to get sued here. The man was never charged. He just there were there's a lot of interesting news stories when you read about him. But as an owner, his teams win, and I don't think what he did on that particular day was particularly bad. Before we head into what happened around the rest of the world of football, we are going to stop off with one more bit from MLS, just because it would be dumb if we didn't mention it. LA Galaxy lost by a touchdown over the weekend.
Yeah.
They are now, I believe, officially off to the worst start in MLS history. That I mean, how does that happen after you win MLS Cup? Or that happens a lot after you win MLS Cup. And I certainly don't think it's a good thing that teams get blown up that significantly after they win the entire thing.
Yeah, it's crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy that after 12 games they haven't won a match. They have 3 points, 3 ties, and 9 losses. That's incredible.
Oh, you ever had a run that bad in your entire career?
No, thank God, no. Oh gosh. I mean, that's rough, and especially like you're 12 games in, that's over a third of the season gone, and you haven't won a game, and it's like you've almost already played everybody once, and now you play them all again, and it's like, well, it's not getting much easier, and you like have to get off at some point to get a good start. But yeah, this is extreme though. I don't think it's ever been this extreme in a sense, right? Where you win MLS Cup and then you're dead last the following season.
I mean,
Like it's like,
that just should be impossible unless there's some sort of weird financial fallout, Leeds United style where,
yeah,
oh, we lived the dream, but we just ran out of money. It really shouldn't be possible for the best team in the league, according to the way the league chooses to award that title, to then suddenly become the worst team in the history of the league over 12 matches. And I'm particularly invested in this because friend of the podcast, Christian Ramirez, who has been on
yes,
twice and is
I
a
know. Feel for him.
fabulous person to talk to and a great guy, obviously, that in person. And he's got 4 goals in 11 matches, and he's still sinking with the ship.
Yeah, I feel so bad for him. But um, well, I think there's if you look at their situation, right? There's multiple factors that play into it. Yes,
Okay.
one is the salary cap restraint, right? Where they have absolutely maxed out every single cent I think that they have or they can this year, where they had to get rid of some players. I think they signed a free agent that they had to release again or buy out again in order to be salary cap compliant. So it's just like those types of things that are just MLS rules restricts them in a way, right? Number two, which in my opinion is probably the biggest thing, is Ricky Puig is obviously injured, right? And he is an MVP type player. If he was fully healthy last season, top 3 in the league, no doubt. You take Messi out of the league, he might be the best player with Evander, probably the best player in MLS right now. So you take him away from that team that, if I mean an MVP is the most valuable player, right? If you take him out, then like obviously the team is much much worse. So and a difference maker, right? And a guy that can change games with his passing, with his scoring, with his assisting, like all of it. So that to me is probably just the biggest factor that they can't seem to find a way to replace him, and that is obviously very difficult to do when you're constrained by the salary cap. You can't have it as deep of a roster. Then I think they've had injuries where Royce hasn't really played a ton. He's just coming back now. Puig's obviously injured, and some other guys, key players they had left, so they're trying to fill those roles. And they lose. I think they lost to Kansas City without conceding a shot on goal or a shot,
Oh, it was
and
that was
they lost by
yeah.
like with an own goal. Like
They
I
did,
don't know,
yeah.
like that was like those types of like records as well. Like it's I think the first time in MLS history that a team didn't record a shot on or a shot in general in the game, but they won the game. It was a cross that
That's
got deflected. It's just like
it's
what?
impossible. That's impossible. Because it's
Yeah,
one thing to not have a shot on goal. Like, oh yeah, that's just a quirky statistic thing. You haven't had a shot on goal, but you
yeah,
created some pressure. To not attempt a shot. You can attempt a shot from 35 yards.
yeah,
They didn't attempt a shot. I mean, that if you watched that game, you would have thought LA Galaxy was the better team. So I think there's a third component to what you're talking about. I think they're just getting really unlucky
yeah,
too. I watched because I was so fascinated by it. I didn't watch the game live, but I watched the extended highlights of that game between those two teams. LA Galaxy should have had 3 goals in that game. I don't know what, like it was just one of those games where it's, oh, there's another chance, and it just goes away. And of course, the guy that scores the own goal has been to 3, I think, World Cups. Maya Yoshida.
yeah.
I mean, Premier League level player. That the own goal was like it was completely inexplicable. There was nobody near him. He just tried to play the
It's
ball
just
and
so
slipped, and it went
unlucky.
into the
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, but
Sometimes the football gods are against you, right?
but then we also
Sometimes they
say
are.
we talk about that, right? And we give them a bunch of excuses in a sense. But then you go out there and you lose 7-0. Like, come on.
Right. Sorry. Yeah.
You
No, well,
know?
I think there
Like
reaches a
you can't
certain
do that
point.
either.
No, I think what now has happened is the belief is gone, and I don't blame the belief for being gone. But I think that you get a little unlucky. You lose a few key players. They came into the season. We talked about this with Christian coming into the year, where Marco Royce was publicly talking about how frustrated he was with MLS
Yeah.
rules and how the great team that they had. He doesn't understand why they can't stay together, right? Because salary cap and all the other things we already talked about. And so you have that kind of hanging over the team a little bit. Who knows how much of a role that played, but I would imagine it was just a general vibe where the team was kind of frustrated that they couldn't keep everybody together. And so they're coming in like, oh, we have to do this again, but we're not going to be as good. Then you get unlucky and you start losing. And now you reach a point where everybody in MLS circles is going, that's the worst start ever.
Yeah,
And so
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
the monkey gets onto your back. And once that monkey's on your back, then you lose 7-0. It's a perfect
Yeah.
storm. But
Yeah.
7-0, that is a season defining loss. That
It's
reverberates for a while.
you haven't won in 11 games, and then you lose the 12th game 7-0. That's rock bottom. Like that. You go from obviously MLS Cup in December, and then in May, 6 months later, here we are.
And there's no, I
Crazy.
mean, the window's buttoned up at least for the moment. There's no reinforcement coming through that door, especially if they're
No.
maxed out on the salary cap.
I mean,
They have
yeah,
what they have.
yeah,
And it is,
exactly.
yeah. I mean, from teams on one end of the spectrum, LA Galaxy, good luck, Christian. We believe in you. We are going to take this outside of the United States now and give you maybe the final recap you'll hear on the Champions League semifinals, which were absolutely fantastic. You had PSG beat Arsenal. You had Inter beat Barcelona in a big surprise to many, me included. I've picked against Inter in every round of this competition. I will do it again in the final. So just bet on Inter and you will be fine. Please bet responsibly. But I'll start with PSG and Arsenal, which was a 3-1 win on aggregate, and something that I've always found very interesting from my managerial perspective with my brain
Let's
is
hear it.
Mikel Arteta comes out after the game, right after the second leg, and he's doing this interview, and he says, "Well, to translate, to paraphrase, he says, I think we were the dominant team, and I think that they won the game because their goalkeeper was man of the match for 2 straight games, and that the game was determined in the boxes, and we just didn't win in the boxes." The post-match interviewer, in something I have literally never seen before, pushed back a little bit because Mikel Arteta said that he had spoken to some people on PSG and they had agreed with him. At which point the post-match interviewer asked him who he had spoken to, and he just said a few people. And then he said everyone, because he was clearly short-circuiting a little bit at that point. So it was a bizarre exchange, right? It was an awkward interview. But I am always, so I obviously watched these games. It just wasn't what Arteta was saying. I don't agree with Mikel Arteta at all. Like they had chances, but so did PSG. I
Yeah,
think, and I'm gonna borrow a
they
phrase from
did.
the youngsters. I think there's some copium going on here. Like if you're playing for Arsenal, what do you make of your manager saying, we were supposed to win, but the ball just didn't agree with us or whatever?
I mean, it's him maybe trying to defend or trying to tell his team indirectly that he's proud of the way they played and he's proud of the way they performed and that he is I think they tried everything they possibly could, that they shouldn't kind of be so down on themselves, that it was a really good performance from them, but it ultimately wasn't enough, and like that type of stuff, right? Like, I don't know, does that make sense?
No, it does. And I think this sort of thing can be difficult too, because obviously, even though he's lived in England for a long time,
Yeah,
English is his second language, right? And it is difficult as somebody that has attempted to learn languages that are not English, right? In the past, um, it is difficult to get. It's one thing to know the words, but it's difficult to get the intent behind it. So I'm a little suspicious that Mikel Arteta maybe, and this is maybe giving him an excuse, maybe giving him an out, but he also didn't lose 7-0. So I feel like that's a little more acceptable.
Uh,
I don't know if he meant for it to come off the way that it did, because it absolutely came off as we were the better team and we just got screwed.
yeah. I don't Probably not. He probably didn't mean it that way, because I
I
mean, if that were the case, then you wouldn't be sitting here, or other people wouldn't be sitting there and saying, well, it's did you watch the game? Type of thing.
yes.
Like, yeah, so, like that. I think he understands and he reads the game, or knows the game well enough. And I want to say he's more of a realistic type coach as well, where he tells you straight how it is, and maybe he just meant it, yeah, a little bit differently than how it came across.
I mean, he really sounded like me trying to explain why I just blew a Champions League final on Football Manager, and you're sitting there and you're going, "Well, I did everything I could. There's nothing else possible that I could have done." But I think Arsenal should be proud. That was why I was weirded out by that response as well. As Arsenal's been in the wilderness for a
Yeah,
while. This was a Champions League final that they absolutely, I'm not saying they couldn't have won it. They absolutely could have won it if they took their chances and maybe, got one more save
yeah,
out of David Raya. I think that if you're an Arsenal fan, and I know if you're an Arsenal fan, you haven't won a trophy in a bit, so you don't really want to hear this, but that was a really good run that I set you up for next year. I think PSG was just more experienced because they've been here. I mean, Marquinhos, the center back there, has probably been in this situation 10 times in his
yeah.
career already. And the guys on Arsenal just haven't.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really good game. Really, two really good games in general. I mean, Barca, Inter as well. But
Oh,
I think four great teams, and we got a really good 4 games out of that. And Arsenal, yeah, they should be leaving that with saying, okay, we can hang with Europe's best. Like, on the 2 nights, unfortunately, we weren't, able to get over that hump and beat PSG in that sense. But um, ultimately, Arsenal, I think, is back to kind of top of Europe, and that's thanks to Mikel Arteta, and then kind of what he's done over the years and how he's developed that team and how he's instilled that winning, that top winning mentality in those players and in that club.
I agree with that. And then you already mentioned Inter Barcelona. I I don't know. I'm surprised. Okay, I'm going to run a theory by you if you're ready. I think I know why Inter won this game. I think I know.
Okay.
Because this was obviously a festival of football. I think the final aggregate was 7-6. This entire
Yeah.
time made absolutely no sense, right? I
Yeah.
think Inter had the lead 4 different times at various points in this tie, and then Barcelona would look like the best team ever, and then they would be terrible again. So here's my theory. Barcelona is a vibes team. They're young, they're kind of untested
Yeah.
relatively. They are very open, flowing all over. They're making a ton of mistakes, they're making a ton of brilliant plays. Inter won this tie because even though they are, and I mean no offense to the unbelievably good players on Inter with this, they are less skilled and less technical. They were better at
Yeah.
being sharp in the right moments than Barcelona was. Because Barcelona just has this tendency to fall asleep, and it's almost like their concentration lapses. Where it
Yeah.
felt to me like Inter was, there is an aspect to being an athlete, and I realize I'm having this conversation with an athlete, right?
Yeah.
I think more than half of it is mental, and I'm not talking about watching film and tactics. I'm
Yeah.
talking about being able to quickly make these decisions and be present and concentrate and know what's going to happen. It's why people that are good at one sport are usually good at others, right? Travis Hunter, the kid that just got drafted into the NFL, could have been this amazing basketball player, right? Deion Sanders, obviously, is another great example.
Yeah.
And everybody that's played sports in their life probably knows that one kid when you were growing up. Lord knows I was not that kid that was just the best player on every single team. And I think a lot of the guys on Enter have that. It just this extreme level where when every chip is down on the table, they're making the right decision. They're finding that little inch of space somewhere. Does that make sense?
It does. It does make a lot of sense, and I think I agree with you. Um, but like I've played obviously a lot of games. I think I'm coming up on 250 only MLS games. Not to toot my own horn here, but um,
Wow.
like it's a you know Barca was what 2-3 minutes away from going to the semifinal, like
Yeah, for going to the final. Yeah.
or going to the final. Like so, yeah. You have a certain luck and a certain live like the moment um, was there, and I think it maybe goes back to what you said about Barca being a little bit inexperienced, a little bit young, a little bit maybe naive in moments, but also absolutely brilliant and electric and so much fun. I mean,
Oh, they're so
Lamine
fun.
Yamal, Rafinha, oh my gosh,
They're so. I mean,
what
they
what?
just played a game against Real Madrid this weekend that they keep one upping themselves. I look
Yeah,
back, I'm like, oh, well, now that's the greatest game I've seen this year.
yeah,
They were down 2-0 in the first half, and all of a sudden they're up 4-2 at halftime. I don't even know what's
yeah,
going on over
absolutely. And so like there is an aspect to them being young and inexperienced, and I think they know that as well. They feel like a very mature team though, and very mature young men. Like Yamin Yamal doesn't act like a 17-year-old, at least from what he does in the outside world, from
there.
what we see. Um, but and I'm sure they'll be back, and they'll be back sooner than later. But um, PSG also no, Inter obviously, you know, were just like you're saying, they were there in the moments. They were there when it counted most. Jan Sommer, oh my gosh, unbelievable saves. Like that, thinking about that save he had and the call from um who was the commentator? Hudson? I
Yeah,
think
is it
Hudson is
the
his
the
last
analyst who
name.
just screams? I
Ray
love that
Hudson.
guy.
Yeah, Ray Hudson.
Oh, yeah, that guy.
Yeah, exactly, that guy. I mean, what I wish I don't know if we can play this, but the video, that would be insane. Like, it gives me goosebumps to hear that, and those types of plays, and they make those types of plays, and um, or they made them in that moment in order to advance at the right time. So they're in the final. They're I feel like they're not as flashy as Barcelona. They're not as
No.
youthful. They're not as like, hey, let's go out there and have some fun and play and do some step overs and combine unbelievably and then score or whatever. They were effective, like effective, and that's what an Italian team is, effective at what they
Yeah,
do.
it
So
reminds me now of I have the full vision in my mind of you go to the YMCA with your high school basketball team and you're looking to go to the pickup courts and just run the court, right? And you've got this one kid who's dunking everywhere. You're hitting the double crossover step back three, which I've definitely hit at least once in my life. But you are there playing against the old heads, right? It's this team of dads, they're 45, 50 years old, a little bit of a pot belly. They're wearing, the white sneakers, and they're not dunking. They're not nailing threes. They're setting screens. They're cutting. They're scoring layups. They're scoring hook shots. And somehow, even though you can just tell Yeah,
Yeah.
they've got these knee braces on, right? The whole image is there for me. Some guy every time he shoots is doing one of these, right? Because his
Yeah.
shoulder hurts so bad. But they beat you 21-19. And you're like, how did that happen? And I'm sure there was a lot of Barcelona players and fans that were feeling the same way after that game. They're going, how did this happen? We felt like we were going to win this game, and they scored to go up 3-2 on the day in Milan, and you're going, well, finally, they really tested us, but finally. But no, a 37-year-old center back who's come back from 2 bouts of cancer, right? Bouts with depression, bouts with alcoholism, a Serbi who hasn't scored in Europe in his career. He's
Yeah.
the guy that's most locked in to put together a weak-footed finish, by the way, in the 93rd minute. So it really is just losing to the dads of the YMCA. They are the dads of the YMCA.
Yeah. It's great. It's great. It's
And we also have to talk about now I really want to just leave that as the lasting metaphor for Inter. And that leaves us with a final that we will pick in a future podcast, obviously, because it happens 4 months from now, because the way the Champions League works. Just kidding, it happens the 31st of May, like I don't know. Then there's the Europa League final, which I've really jackknifed in here because I just can't believe that a team in 16th and a team in 17th in the Premier League are playing a
Isn't that
European
crazy?
final. It's so crazy that you don't even have to look it up to know that nothing like this has ever happened before.
Yeah.
I mean, they are having LA Galaxy type runs here, right? In terms of, I think Tottenham's lost 20 games in the league. They're playing in a European final, not even the Conference League, which I love. This is the Europa League. This is not a new competition. This is it's been around for a long time. What do you make of that? And what is going on in the players' minds when every week they turn up in the league and lose, and yet they have this huge final to prepare for?
I mean, you don't care almost anymore about the league, right? You're like, we have this chance to win a trophy and salvage the season in a way. Like, okay, you come in 16th. Yeah, you played a really terrible Premier League season, but you won the Europa League. Do you think, is that a successful year or is that a bad year? I mean, I couldn't answer that question.
I think if you're
But like,
Tottenham, it's a successful year just because the trophy thing.
yeah, yeah. But I mean, it's interesting. So interesting how you're like 2 different teams. Like one that is in the Europa League that plays and that's different type of vibe, right? And then the other side is like the week in and week out, the Prem. Like you just have a tough time. Like it's so funny how you tell me that those players, like you saying the game is more than 60, more than 50% mental. Yeah, that proves the point right there. Like that is 100% more mental about like, okay, these are knockout games, let's go for it type of thing, instead of we're playing for 3 points. Like I'm making it sound weird, but
yeah,
like
3 points that haven't mattered for a long time because these teams have been out of the race for anything in the league for a while.
Yeah. So it's so interesting how that changes and how teams go in and out of these bouts. Unbelievable, like unbelievable. When I think about it and talk about it, it's just like, I don't know, it's just so inexplainable.
No, it doesn't make any sense. More so because both of these teams have beaten very good teams to get here. Spurs in the quarterfinal, they beat Eintracht Frankfurt, who have won this tournament within the last 3 or 4 years. Very good team. I totally thought Tottenham was going to lose. And then Manchester United, just in the last round, played my favorite for the competition, Bilbao, who inexplicably, I don't know how much United had to do with it, but Bilbao just had this meltdown. They got a red card and like the wheels fell off the wagon. They ended up losing 7-1 on aggregate, which is insane. If Bilbao is a top 4 team in La Liga, like they're going to get a ticket back to the Champions League next year, where Manchester United's going to get a ticket to hell if they don't win this match, right? Like this match is, can you imagine how, because one of these teams is going to lose, because I had to double check the rules on this one because who the 2 teams are, but they can't both lose. So one of them is going to win and the other one is going to lose. And that means whichever team loses this match you're talking about rock bottom, because you got all the way to this point and you got through all of these tough teams in these away days and all of these extra matches. and you get right there with one hand on the trophy in this miserable season.
Yeah.
And then it goes away. Would you rather have just gone out in the group stage if you're going to end up losing this match? I don't know.
I don't think so. I think there's still some pride you can take in making that run while being in the shit.
Yeah, I guess.
You know?
Yeah.
So you kind of find a way to, at least have meaningful games all the way till the end of the year, all the way till June, and that's, I think, still something special. Yeah, but I guess, you certainly not played a great season. Now you lose in a final. It's like, I don't know.
It's one more kick in the balls. I mean, that's really what
Yeah.
it is. It's okay. We just went through all of this tough stuff, and then we just we just failed again. We've been failing all year, and then that game is going to be maybe more fun to watch than the Champions League final. Obviously, I'm going to watch them both, but this game is going to have a certain desperation that I don't even think the Champions League final is going to have, because there's going to be a real need
maybe
for this game.
But I mean, in the Champions League final, you have two teams that are super gritty and that are like, just the matchup itself is interesting. Maybe they're, like we just talked about, they're not the prettiest type of soccer teams, but it'll be entertaining. But I'm still sad. I'm still sad. Just sad about the Champions League final, it being in Munich. And I think before ending this segment and jumping to the fan questions, I have to give a little shout out to my guy Thomas Müller, who is ending his stint at Bayern Munich. I don't think he's decided yet of where he continues. I hope he comes to MLS so we can talk some shit together, speak some German, hopefully playing against him. But isn't it funny how, so he played for Bayern Munich for 25 years. His number has always been 25, and this is the year 2025.
Some people, reminds me of Derek Jeter in baseball. Some people are just, they have a charmed life. It just lines up. Derek Jeter's last at bat was a walk-off hit, which is basically a buzzer beater, like scoring the winning penalty in a game. His last hit was a walk-off hit. His 3,000th hit, which is this threshold that's mythical in baseball, was a home run, right? Yeah. Thomas Müller feels like that type of person. He has so many trophies, he probably can't even remember them all. And he is one of my favorite players because...
Wait, Alexei, does he have 25 trophies?
He might have more than that. Honestly, he might have more than you talk Super Cups, DFB Pokals, Bundesliga, definitely at least 2 Champions Leagues, I think.
That would be funny. But no, I just wanted to give a little shout out here.
He has more. Our producers say he has more than 25. Oh,
yeah, I 25. Wanted to give him a little shout out here to end this segment. Much love to him and to Munich, and thanks for all the memories, because there were a lot. As a Bayern fan, I've watched a lot of his stuff over the years, obviously, and unbelievable player, unbelievable person he seems, and wish him all the best for what's next.
There will never be another Thomas Müller. That I am 100% sure of.
Yeah, probably, yes.
On to the fan questions, and we've got one for each of us. Remember, if you want to submit your fan questions, you can comment under a YouTube video. You can message us on Instagram or wherever else you might be able to reach us.
Let's start with yours.
Oh, okay. All right.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, I mean, we have to record these virtually. And so if you're always wondering why those interruptions look a little weird, it's because we kind of just have to dive in. But no, that's totally fine. I will start with mine. Thank you very much.
So your question, I'm going to ask you the question actually too.
Okay.
So it comes from the Saints fan 912 on Instagram. That Saints fan 912 on Instagram. Sorry. What is going to be your first save in Football Manager 2026?
Well, my first answer to that is we got to make sure it comes out first, because the last one, last one got canceled. So it's got to come out first, not just for me, but for all the people that play it. Antoine Griezmann needs something to play on his plane. But I am always asked this question in public, in person, every DM available. I decide this about a week before. That is the actual answer.
Okay.
That's the deadline, and I'm a big procrastinator, and so about a week before I'll decide. I feel like too much can change between now and when that game comes out to
Oh,
really tell me what an interesting save
yeah.
is. I mean, you can have ideas. I can look at something and go, "Oh, it might be fun to take a club from here and go there." But
So I have a follow up
okay.
for all the people that don't know, potentially even me. What is a save on
So
Football
that's
Manager?
the team you manage, basically, like the
Okay.
save that you play. And I don't know why it's referred to as a save because you save it and then kind of load into it and progress with the team. Yeah,
Oh, I
I
thought
guess
it's
I
like you
didn't.
take like a team that has like 0 points, like the LA Galaxy, and you try
Oh,
and
see,
save throughout the year.
that would be a good save idea. Would be to
Okay.
take a team that gets relegated in real life and then you try to make them not get relegated.
Okay.
But no, a good example of the save that I did last year was I started unemployed with no coaching badges or playing experience. So basically just me, and then
Okay.
worked my way up the game to winning the Champions League, actually with Tottenham. So if Ange wants any pointers, he knows where to find me. So you do things like that, or I started with a team in the sixth tier of England and we worked our way all the way up. And it takes a lot, saves can last seven,
Yeah,
eight
that's how
months.
I play.
Yeah.
If I play Football Manager sometimes, rarely, I would start with just myself, no badge, nothing, just manage
Yeah.
like a third division team or something.
Yeah, except you'd be
But
able to put international for playing experience, and I don't quite, that would
yeah,
help you. No, I
yeah,
had to start with that when I started in the South African second division. We
okay,
had a stadium of about 2,000 Black Leopards, my boys. We got promoted, and then we
wow,
we managed to get out of it from there. So when they're asking what the save is, it's basically what's the journey going to be, what's the story going to be in the
okay,
next iteration of the game. And I don't
gotcha.
know because I'll get to a moment in much the same way that other people decide what saves they want to play. And I'll be sitting down there and I'll be like, you know what? That looks fun. I mean, one time I was, oh, I probably want to play in this league. And then I saw a team that had a peacock on its badge. And I went, that's the team. That's it. That's the team.
Peacock time. I
Yeah,
love it.
peacocks. Up the peacocks. That was the hashtag for that. So that is your actual answer, Saints fan. And also, I'm very sorry Derek Carr retired. Unless you're Southampton, then congratulations on not being the worst team in the Prem ever with that draw to get to 12. So now I'll ask Julian his question. Lots of folks curious about how Julian's settling in after his first few weeks in Minnesota. A lot of different questions about that, but one from Scotty Phillips on Instagram. What's something you love about Minnesota already that isn't soccer related?
It's not peacocks. I haven't seen a peacock around.
Damn.
Uh,
And this is what David Attenborough is arguing for. They used to be all over Minnesota.
um, it's not soccer related. To be honest with you, Minnesota nice is a real thing. Do you know what Minnesota nice is?
Yeah, I've heard the phrase and the
Yeah,
idea that it's just an incredibly nice place and everybody smiles and waves and says hello and opens doors. And then
yeah,
is that your
absolutely.
experience?
So far, yes. I mean, I've been in this hotel downtown Minneapolis, so I've kind of been out and about. My brother was here for the weekend, so we were out and about a lot, walking around in bars and restaurants, and we went to a putt place, went to Top Golf, and um, you know, went out a lot. Went shopping a little bit here and there. Like it was, I tried to get as much of take in as much of the city as I can. Um, and yeah, I've yet to meet somebody that is like grumpy, is like, kind of just rude, like not at all, and it's really more so even than the other cities I feel like I've been in. I mean, as of it's mostly recently, obviously Miami and outside of Miami, but definitely different. The people are super super nice, and um, even my brother said it. I was like, is it me or is it like there's like another level to this here? So I think that in general has been really cool to see, and something that I obviously like when people are nice to you. So
Yeah, doesn't suck when everybody's smiling and
yes.
everybody's nice. No, and personally, I felt the same thing. It is an interesting place, and I know it's not normally on a tourist bucket list, but I know we have a lot of non-Americans. Maybe you should be heading up to Minnesota in the summer.
I,
Oh,
you should. I just remembered something. We are about to talk about the giveaway, right? Because the show
yes,
is
that's
kind
where
of
we're
coming to
that's
an
where
end.
we're going.
So before that happens, I just wanted to give a little shout out to all the mommies out there.
Oh,
It
I
was Mother's
love the
Day
way
on
you worded that. It
Sunday.
made me mildly uncomfortable, and that's good to push myself. So
It was Mother's Day a few days ago, and I really hope that all the moms out there had a great day. You guys deserve it. And certainly my mom and my wife, you guys are the best. I love you all very much, and thank you for all you do.
yeah. Hi, mom. I know you're watching this.
Oh
So
yes,
hi. How
Zealand's
you doing?
mom. Hi,
Yeah,
hi, Zealand's mom.
yeah.
Happy Mother's Day.
Yeah, happy Mother's Day. Mom Bot, as she's known on stream. I did a meet and greet at TwitchCon one time, and I swear she was more popular than I was. So that was cool. But yes, very happy Mother's Day. And to my two living grandmothers as well. Happy Mother's Day to them.
Wow.
Yeah,
Mm,
shout out. No, I'm going to be
nice.
living for a long time. The genes are strong. Now it's time to.
Yeah.
So I just can't. Sorry, the producer just put this in the chat, and it's overwhelming me, so I have to say it. Saying Happy Mother's Day to all the mommies out there. That was Miami Julian coming out there for a second,
No,
and that's.
Mommy. Okay, guys,
So
drop
sorry.
it, please.
It was
Drop
too
it.
good.
It's
It
enough.
was too good. No, Julian, you are a. I mean, hey, that means the same thing. It's just got that Miami flair to it. You know, you're drinking
Yeah.
mate, you've got the shirt unbuttoned. Happy Mother's Day to all the mommies out there. That's perfect. The mommies and the mommies, right? That's from our podcast to you. Happy Mother's Day. Now that we've made Julian sufficiently uncomfortable, it's time to talk about the giveaway. Julian, do you want to tell the fine people of the Player Manager podcast universe what they have the opportunity to win?
Yes. So right now, obviously got to a new club, and got a new jersey in blue now all of a sudden. So I figured, why not get the whole Minnesota United team to sign a jersey and do a little giveaway to start off this Minnesota United player manager podcast journey. So yes, it will be a team signed Minnesota United jersey that we will be giving away.
Beautiful. And if you want to win it, all you have to do is subscribe to Player Manager on YouTube and comment on this week's episode. So not next week, not last week. If you want to win a team
Right now,
signed
comment.
right now, I mean you can. The UI on YouTube's fantastic. Give it a scroll, give it a finger, I guess, and go down there and comment. Hey, you got to be. Most people are watching this on their phone. You know, okay. I don't need this judgment. Okay, sorry. The producer, who you're not going to be able to see, made a face at me. So thank you for that, Alexei. But yeah, scroll down there, comment. You could win a team signed Minnesota United Julian Gressel jersey, one of the first off the line for burgeoning Minnesota United superstar, right? And a man that now, after the first game, I think you're going to know where to walk after a win,
Yes,
right?
at
Okay.
home. Yes, I've experienced it now. Away, home, I know what we're doing from now on. So.
Oh, perfect. Well, that's better than us here. But I think that's the end of the. I think that's the end of the podcast. So good luck in the giveaway. If you subscribe and comment, thank you so much for listening. And as always, send in your questions in the comments and Instagram. We'll get to them in the next episode. See you later, guys.